Have you heard of the phrase, justice delayed is justice denied? It means that if the process of delivering justice is delayed, or if justice is not provided in a speedy manner, then it would probably yield the same result as justice being denied or injustice prevailing in the society. We've already talked about how there are crores of cases pending in the courts of India. There are various reasons for it. Firstly, there are vacancies for a lot of judges in the high courts as well as the Supreme Court. Plus, in the subordinate courts, there is bad infrastructure, such as there is no drinking water or clean toilets or elevators or lifts for the use of the public, that is the litigants, the judges and other members of the court. In such a situation in India, where there is a large vacancy of seats of judges as well as a lot of bad infrastructure of the courts, there are a lot of pending cases in India. Also in India, there is something known as luxurious litigation, which is that people who have a lot of resources tend to frustrate and delay the judicial process by filing numerous proceedings at the different courts. Also, sometimes they may file for a case and then remain dormant. That is, they do not attend the proceedings and they change the dates, keep on shifting them, so that it wastes the precious time of the courts. So, all of these together lead to a lot of pending cases in the court of India, which leads to justice delayed as justice being denied to the people of the country. Now let us imagine that Mr. Arora has a business. A lot of stakeholders, that is people who invest money, are also there. So a lot of people have invested their money in Mr. Arora's business. Now after this, Mr. Arora has a case against him which alleges that he has not paid his tax or he has done tax evasion. So in that case, this case will go to the court. But due to a lot of pending cases already being there, the court does not take up Mr. Arora's case immediately. Because the case is kept on waiting, the charges are not cleared of him or there is no proper trial in this case. So Mr. Arora keeps on suffering losses. The business keeps on going down. As such, the people who are customers of Mr. Arora also start losing faith in him, because they now see him as an immoral person who has not paid his taxes. The stakeholders, that is the people who had invested in the business, after seeing all of these losses, also take out their money from the business. So Mr. Arora's reputation goes down as well as his income. After all of these years, when after many years this case is being taken by the court, it is found that there was no case of tax evasion and actually it was just an accounting error. So we see that after all of this, due to not getting a speedy delivery of justice, Mr. Arora suffers a lot of problems. He suffers a loss of his face as well as a loss of his livelihood. Therefore, if justice is not given in a speedy manner, it leads to the denial of justice for the innocent citizens of the country. Now, if the government of India through its judicial system is not being able to deliver justice in a speedy manner, it leads to a lot of problems. Other than causing a suffering for citizens, it also leads to economic loss, where a person has to give a lot of money because the case is being continued for a longer period of time. It also leads to disappearance of witnesses, lowering the quality of justice because a lot of time has passed since the case was initiated and the case is going through trial. Other than that, there is waste of limited resources, there is a loss of reputation of the judicial system as well. So since the judicial system is not being able to deliver justice in a speedy manner, it might lead to the denial of justice, therefore leading to the loss of reputation of the judicial system itself. So therefore we understand that there is an urgent requirement of resolving all of this backlog. So for this reason, the government of India as well as the law authorities have put in a lot of efforts to better the infrastructure in the different courts of the country. as well as create some special types of courts such as the Lok Adalats, the family courts and the mobile courts. So in this video, we'll be talking about these different alternative methods to get justice delivered. Now, a lot of times there are situations when you fight with your friends, when there is a heated argument. But later on, maybe you talk it out. You negotiate and compromise to reach a middle ground. So we see how negotiating is very important in our day-to-day lives, as well as it is important in the process of law. So it is always better to join hands and compromise than to drag a matter for a longer period of time without yielding any proper results. The process of negotiating or compromise is the principle on which the Lok Adalats function. Now, as we can understand, Lok means people, Adalat means court. So Lok Adalat becomes the people's court. It is an alternate grievance redressal mechanism so that people can get justice even without reaching out to the normal courts of law. Now these Lok Adalats take different types of cases. They take criminal cases, civil cases as well as cases that are pending in the revenue courts of India. Marriage disputes, electricity problems as well as various different kinds of problems are solved by these Lok Adalats. Now in what situation can a Lok Adalat take a case? So firstly, any case which is pending before any court in the country can be solved in the Lok Adalat. Other than this, any dispute which has not yet been brought before the court and is still likely to be filed before the court can also go to the Lok Adalats. So as we've already seen, the Lok Adalats try to function with a spirit of compromise. They try to negotiate things between the two parties. So Lok Adalats try to settle disputes and take decisions through negotiation. That is, discussing and reaching a middle ground or compromising through compromise and settlement between the parties. So only people who are ready to resolve their problems through discussing, where both parties get their problems resolved as well as do not totally win or lose the case, only those cases can go to the Lok Adalats. So if there is a serious criminal matter, then it would probably not go to the Lok Adalats because there a compromise will not be possible. Secondly, the decision of the Lok Adalats are deemed to be decrees of a civil court and it is final and binding on all parties to the disputes. We've taught and understood the process of appeals, but a decision or a judgment that has been passed by a Lok Adalat cannot be appealed against in a court of law. Other than this, the Lok Adalats are presided over by judicial officers or social workers who possess the required qualifications. So judicial officers can be judges or lawyers who have retired or even active and working judges or lawyers, as well as social workers who possess enough qualifications in the field of law so that they can handle these cases. The Lok Adalats provide free legal aid and services to the poor and the weaker sections of the society. So in the Lok Adalats, there is no court fee. The process is entirely free. So it helps a lot of people who belong to the underprivileged or the poorest sections of the society who cannot afford the amount of money which is needed to fight a case in the normal courts of law. So now let's see if you can answer this question. An award made by a Lok Adalat is deemed to be a decree of which court? Is it the civil court, the criminal court, the revenue court or the subordinate court? Yes, it is considered to be a decree of the civil court. So therefore, the Lok Adalats have helped a lot of underprivileged and poor people get justice. And this includes a lot of farmers who had taken loan from banks. Let us look at one of these cases. So such a case happened in 2013. In 1997, Imrit Pal, who was a farmer in the Batta village of Haryana, had taken a loan of 1.7 lakhs from the State Bank of Patiala, and as mortgage he had kept his piece of land. So Imrit Pal started paying off this debt, and after paying rupees 60,000 he started getting irregular with his payments. After a while his debt went up to rupees 15 lakhs. And the bank was ready to take away his land from him because he would not be able to pay back the money. So this case was taken up by the Lok Adalat, and in that a compromise was reached where Imrit Pal would pay back rupees 2.25 lakhs and the bank would not take away his land. So in this case a middle ground was reached and a compromise was done, so that Imrit Pal would not lose his land, but he would still pay back the debt he was supposed to. So through this case we understand how very important the functioning of the Lok Adalats is. So now through this very case let us understand and look at the various advantages of Lok Adalats. So firstly, since the Lok Adalats work on a principle of compromise, it means that the parties come to a middle ground, at that no party totally loses everything. So as we saw in that case, bank got back its debt amount as well as Imrit Pal did not lose his piece of land. So both parties win some and lose some, but they totally do not lose everything at all. So therefore, the principle of compromise helps the Lok Adalats work in a just manner. Secondly, the Lok Adalats act as free legal aids for the underprivileged people who are denied justice because of the lack of resources. So as we saw, Imrit Pal was a poor farmer, and if he had to go to the courts of law and keep his case pending for a long period of time, he would not be able to have the resources that were required to do that. So therefore, the process that is followed in Lok Adalats, which gives a chance to get free legal aid, helps the poorer and the weaker sections of the society to get justice which is equitable for all. Thirdly, Lok Adalats provide speedy justice. Why? As it has a simple procedure. The process in the Lok Adalats does not contain too much legal formalism or the rituals that are followed in the regular courts of law. So for example, to move a court of law, you have to write a formal application. But to move a Lok Adalat, you can write your problem in any sheet of paper. Other than that, in the Lok Adalats, since the process is quite informal and does not have the procedural laws, so in Lok Adalats, the people who are parties to the disputes can also directly talk to the judge and give their personal views and opinions, even though they are being represented by the lawyers. So because the process or the procedure is so simple and does not have too much formality, therefore the process is quite speedy as compared to the regular courts of law. Fourthly, the reason which is the main purpose of getting into action the Lok Adalats is that Lok Adalats help in reducing the workload at the subordinate courts. So through the inexpensive delivering of justice as well as the speedy procedure, it totally aims at getting off the workload at the subordinate courts. So cases which are pending in the subordinate courts or cases which would normally go to the subordinate courts can be taken care of in the Lok Adalats itself. Now, after we've understood what Lok Adalats are and how it is an alternate mechanism for getting justice delivered, let us understand what family courts are. So, the family courts were also created during the 1980s. And as you can understand from the very name itself, it deals with matters that are in between or within the walls of family. So, the family courts were established to provide speedy judgments in matters relating to marriage, divorce, dowry, domestic violence and other family affairs. These cases are taken care of in the family courts. The Family Courts Act of 1984 says that any city or town with a population of more than 10 lakhs should have at least one family court. The state governments are also given duties to create family courts wherever required within the state. Have you ever heard of moving courts? Or courts that move from one place to another delivering justice. Sounds interesting, right? Well, this concept was first given by Dr. APJ Abdul Kalam, who had in mind the urgency of getting the system of criminal justice and civil justice delivered to the isolated areas where people had to spend a lot of money to reach the normal or the regular courts of law to address their grievances. So, this is the concept that gave rise to the mobile courts or the moving courts. The tagline of these mobile courts was Sasta or Shulabh Nyay, which means that affordable and accessible justice. These mobile courts or moving courts are vehicles which have interiors just like the normal or the regular courts of law. There are judges and their security personnel as well as other procedures that happen in the regular courts. This vehicle moves on from one place to another to predestined or predetermined places to deliver justice to the people of that area. Now, even though these moving courts had a lot of advantages, such as they gave speedy justice, it also had a lot of disadvantages. For example, the moving courts were found to be very inconvenient by the advocates. It also had a large amount of money to be spent because the car had to move from one place to another. Other than this, the advocates also faced problems because of the bad infrastructure, such as there was no treasury to collect the money for the procedure of giving justice, as well as there were no typewriters or photocopy machines. So that is why, even though it was met with success in cities like Bangalore, it still failed to provide justice to the people of other cities. So it was shut down and mobile courts do not work anymore in the country. So therefore, in this video, we've talked about the Lok Adalats, the family courts and the mobile courts. These were created to reduce the pendency of cases in the subordinate courts or the other courts of law. And these Lok Adalats also reduced the amount of pending cases and they provided speedy justice, which was helpful for the Indian judiciary in providing equitable and fair justice to all citizens of the country. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel and hit the bell icon. You can also register for free at DeltaStep.com or download the DeltaStep app to get access to all our 5,000 plus amazing videos as per your school syllabus. Master each topic with our adaptive practice technology. Get million+ questions with step-by-step solutions and unlimited mock tests. Get all your doubts resolved instantly. Learn via games and win amazing prizes like PlayStations and iPads. So at DeltaStep, learning is not just fun and easy, it is rewarding too. So register for free now.